The reflection today is titled On Values and Equivalencies. Anyone who wants to raise the minimum wage for people, don't use false equivalencies. Don't say these people need a living wage to live upon. These workers are currently living on $15,025 a year. My response: that is the maximum of what an elderly or adult disabled receive in an annual Social Security benefit. I don't hear anyone saying word one about raising those payments to $40,000 a year. And the elderly and adult disabled have paid taxes for decades to receive payments of that value. That $15,125 annual payout is among the highest and is for those who worked the longest duration, full input into their Social Security Administration account, and or those with the highest, higher than average earnings. Annual earnings of employment of $25,000 to $55,000, 1960 to 2010, 50 years. So when Social Security payments are increased to where the elderly and adult disabled are no longer the single largest demographic applying for and receiving food aid, then we can talk about minimum wage again. And you all know what I feel about the food aid benefit. The truth of the matter is, the budget for food was set in 1974 and has never changed since that time. Have your grocery costs changed since that time? Well, there has been no change in the food support budgets since that year, 45 years ago. They're processing applications and requests as if they still cost $1.97 to feed each person for a day, including fresh veg and meat. From dead animals, that is, that you don't sleep with at the foot of your bed. Minimum wage doesn't prohibit the individual from getting a different job, as we all did, or prohibit them from getting an education so they can advance, which we all did. Whereas Social Security has restrictions on what can be earned at every point, both when you're on RSDI, disability benefit, and SSDI, age benefit. And Trump is now talking about cutting the Social Security benefits by 63% at the end of 2020 to start in 2021. This while others are still fighting to raise the minimum wage for those who are unwilling to do the minimum to help themselves but show up at protests. They don't and won't get an education. Why should they be handed more money when they won't do the minimum of getting a GED, a high school equivalency, or getting 2 years of online college offered free? Minimum wage doesn't prohibit the individual from getting education to do a different career, as we all did. In this economy, when there are jobs begging for workers, they'll train, pay to move. The worker just has to be willing to work. Colorado has over 5,000 skilled labor positions listed as willing to pay to train the right worker, starting wage $45,000. None of these people wanting the minimum wage to rise, none are willing to apply, because none wish to put themselves out. None wants to train. None wants to learn. They only want to do nothing and be handed things and then go out and do protests. For this is what you see them doing over and over and over. Those that want to advance do advance. They get offered education despite having small children to raise, despite having to work. And if these thousands can do it every year, so too can the rest. And none given any free handouts before you give the handouts to those who have worked their careers and never asked. To those who paid into the system and are now living so close to the bottom, but no one ever thinks of them. No one seems to realize that the elderly and adult disabled are the largest group who apply for poverty assistance and are shamed for doing it. I am an adult disabled, but I have 18 college degrees, but I live at the federal poverty limit for a household of one. The government changes the FPL, the federal poverty limit, every year. For 2019, it's 14,748, which means I'm 101% of FPL. Think about that. Do you know what it means to say that aloud to all of you? Yeah, it feels great. Can you imagine what it's like as I read these scriptures each day? And some days I realize suddenly that I am one of Christ's least ones. I have a house. Yes. 78% of my total income pays for my home. Not a cent is left at the end of the month. Literally, not a cent. I use every last penny to cool and to heat. More to cool than to heat. Because during the winter, I can put blankets on my bed and cuddle and put more clothes on. But during the summer, when it's so damn dangerous for me, there's no choice I have but to pay to cool this house. And I must get food ate, else I wouldn't eat. I can't afford a movie, or fast food dinner, or gas on most months. I look forward to the end of August, September, as I get a property tax refund. That gives me a few months where I can have a treat, like the flavored bottled water I love. It's 79 cents a bottle. I can afford it 6 months out of the year. And then I will replenish my Amazon gift certificates so that I can refill all of the over-the-counter meds that I use throughout the year. And then I get an oil change for my beloved 2002 Oxymoron mobile. That's my splurge for the year. That's how the poor live. Those are my splurges for the entire year right there. Nothing more, nothing less. And the rest, I give to charity. I live that close to the edge, and I still give to the poor. I still give to others. And then the rest, $317 every year, is saved to cover the co-pays I'll have to pay for drugs at the beginning of each year. 5 months each year I pay for co-pays, and then I reach catastrophic coverage. Because the cost of my drugs is so great, I reach catastrophic coverage after May, usually each year. So before you talk, anyone, anymore, about raising minimum wage with your false statements of improvised value statements, here are some real values. Let them show that they want to improve their lives by proving their intent, by following through with their own advancement program with all the necessary support that they would need. In the meantime, improve the lives of the disabled seniors and adults in your city and county. Work to raise their standard of living by working on their houses if they live at home. Paint them. Clean up their houses. Fix all of the things that are wrong with their houses. Nail their trim pieces back. Mow their lawns. Weed their gardens. Shovel their walks so they don't have to spend money they don't have And if they live independently, but if they live cooperatively, visit them, write them letters, tell them about your life and enrich both lives. And then when you do work to raise the minimum wage, tie it to the level of Social Security so that both the bottom for the elderly, adult, disabled and the bottom of the working poor are tied together. So they are mirror images of each other at all times. Never let the one rise without the other rising, for never should one be higher than the other.